fear them anymore. I'm talking to Ronald Namai, who is an aspirant who's vying for the chairman position of that club. The election will be held on 26th of June this year, and they're waiting to see between him and his competitor, Shikanda Dan, who is also vying again. Shikanda promised by the end of his tenure, the first term, he will be having AFC Leopards. AFC Leopards will be having a stadium, but we have not seen it anymore. Although they say AFC Leopards has a piece of land, they can do that. Ronald, welcome to the studio and welcome to the show again.
Thank you.
What do you make of AFC Leopard as of now? Because they lost a game also, the final game against Nzoia. That's the last game of the season, and they also lost.
It's not a good performance. We've not had good results for quite some number of years now. It's a time that we need to rethink now that the league is over, to try and see what we can do to rekindle what Leopards used to be and what Ingwe is supposed to be. So it's that period then that we need to come together and work out on a strategy that is going to get back Ingwe its close that it used to have many years back. So the first step, as it is, we are going into elections in the next 2 weeks to elect an office that is going to lead us for the next 3 years. It is very obvious that the current office has failed to provide any kind of leadership that will take us forward. In fact, it has taken us backwards to where we shouldn't be. And therefore, it's a high time we make changes to the management and push for an office that is going to bring back Ingwe to where it's supposed to belong.
Where did the Rain start beating Ingwe? This was a team everybody knew from the very beginning that it was going to be a lethal, fierce, a force to reckon with. But today it's no longer that. Any team can beat Ingwe anytime, anywhere.
Sad story, very sad story. We are not supposed to be in that state. Where did the Rain start beating Ingwe? Many years back. It's not something that we can say started 2, 3, 4, 5 years ago. I think our fortune started dwindling after we started having politicians to run the club. We have never grown to understand that football is a commercial business. It's a business of its own, both on and off the pitch. And we have never had an office that interpreted that and put it in place, strategies that would make Leopards a business on the pitch and off the pitch. We should be able to be selling players and making revenue from the playing unit. We should be making money off the pitch from merchandising, from media and the likes. However, what we see, and especially in the last 3 years, the chairman has been driving the club as a political outfit. Running around to try and solicit funds from politicians here and there to run the club. That is not going to take us anywhere. We will continue going down, and we must make that change now. We must make the change to know that we need to have management that recognizes that football is a business and we need to manage it as a business.
So football has been dominated by politics all through. Where do you draw the line that this is where politics ends and this is where the sport continues from? Because look at everybody who's running football. Even Chikanda himself, he was in FC, left, divided for some position in the political arena, and he came back. And many others have done the same thing that he has done. Where do you draw the line?
We have to come to a point and realize that encouraging that has led us to where we are today. And we have tried to put in place measures so far to discourage people who come into the club to get political mileage and then run to national politics. And the first step was to put up a constitution that directed how people get into the leadership of the club. You must have been a member for at least 3 seasons, and you must have been contributing to the development of the club. And that is why you realize in this election this year, except for Shikanda, who dubiously came into the club 3 years ago, we do not now have politicians running for any positions. So we have made the first step, the constitutional step. Now we need to move to the next step. How do we then get these managers who are now coming in to manage the club to turn the club into a football business. I believe this is the right time now to make that decision. We have very good people who are running now. I'm running for chairmanship with my 20 years experience in management, in the oil industry, in banking and in finance, and now in insurance. This is the kind of thing that we need to be doing going forward, and then start welcoming corporate entities to partner with us to move the club forward.
But some people from the other side will always say, let football be run by footballers, former footballers, people who have a know-how on how football is run from the early years. That's why they trust, probably, even the caretaker committee. People say it's a mistake that happened. People who are running the caretaker committee are not footballers, are not former, and there are people who have come in to try to help, but they don't have a know-how on how to do things. People will say that you never played for FC Leopards, you never played any game in the Premier League to have a know-how on how a club is run. Where does that put you as an aspirant?
Those are good observations. However, I beg to disagree because playing football and managing football as a business are two different things. And there is definitely a role for former players. There is definitely a role for former players. We need their technical expertise. We need them to work on our footballing structures to ensure that we get talent, we get good training facilities and the likes. They have a role in the club, and when we get into office, we have already identified the role former players will bring on board. However, running the business side of the football does not require a footballer. It requires somebody who has expertise in management and business, something I've done for the last 20 years. So I want to combine my abilities in running businesses to run the business side of the club, while bringing on board former players and legends who have the expertise of training the players, of motivating the players, so that they handle the footballing side of the club. That is what we need to incorporate. Because if you go one direction and leave the other, you are going to fail.
The kitchen is very hot. Many people are coming in and running away from the kitchen because it sounds to be somebody has thrown chilies into into some fire, and then the kitchen is very hot. Nobody wants to stay in there because you realize when you go in there, you'll be trying to salvage something which has been mismanaged for the longest time.
Correct.
And trying to bring it back to the people. Why do you want to lead FC Leopards?
I want to lead Leopards because it's a very good opportunity for myself. It's a very good opportunity for the club, and it's a very good challenge. I've been challenged before in the corporate world to turn around institutions. I've been involved with a bank before, which was in a problem, and we brought in to salvage its fortunes. And we did a very good job, me and my colleagues at that point, and we turned it around. I've been involved in turning around an insurance company to try and bring it back on its feet, and I've managed to do that with my colleagues, and now we are at a good stage. I want to believe that with the expertise I have, there is an opportunity also to turn around the fortunes of FC Leopards. FC Leopards is a very big brand. It is an institution that you can turn around and make it a global brand. It's a challenge that I want to take it on myself. It's something that I believe is going to give me a very good chance to showcase to the world that it can be done here in Kenya as it has been done elsewhere.
I want to say this, not to showcase that you are moneyed, but I'm just trying to say that you've been in the industry of money for quite some time. And the biggest challenge FC Leopard has had for the longest time is financial stability. It's always unstable. Players are complaining of their monies, their salaries are not paid in time. They are chased away from their rental houses because they can't pay rent. They can't afford to pay rent. They go for 3 to 4 months or 5 months without pay. How can you solve this issue? It's a big menace.
It's a big menace because the leadership has not invested in ideas to generate revenue. As I've told you, the leadership has always been running around chasing for donations from politicians. That cannot sustain a club. We must have a consistent way of running the club financially. And we have plans on how to do that. One, is that we want to invest in merchandising. Leopards is one club that can generate a lot of revenue through merchandising, and we want to invest in that in the next 2 to 3 months to ensure that our merchandise are available across the country to various stakeholders, so that we can start generating constant revenue. Every month we are generating revenue. We want to invest in our media team. Media is a very big tool in business. We want to invest in our media team. We want to be able to reach a point whereby we are streaming our games at a fee. We want to be running content on YouTube and other platforms and generating constant revenue for the club, so that we are not in a situation where we are tied to one sponsor who is now dictating on how we operate. We must have at least 3, 4, 5 revenue streams that are constantly generating money for the club, so that we don't have to start going into fundraisings and the likes. That is a sustainable way to move the club forward, so that we avoid the issue of players' salaries delaying, allowances delaying, and we have go-slows, and now we start losing matches that we should not ordinarily be losing.
So you're talking about generating revenue.
Correct.
This is a club which was accused last year, early January, that FC Leopards goes to Moja, finds Nigerians, brand them with big money and say they've bought some players and they play in the league. Number 2, FC Leopards, for the longest time, including Gor Mahia here, they have failed to pull the crowd they used to pull back in the years. So how is this money coming on board if we can't have a proper structure of buying players? Number 2, getting fans into the stadium. And number 3, this pay TV. If there's no quality, why should I pay to watch?
Thank you very much. You've raised 3 very critical issues. One is about our scouting. You correctly say that we have had dubious signings, especially in the last 2 years, which have costed the club a lot of money. In fact, it's not just about how much we pay for no results, but how much it costs us by those same dubious signings going to FIFA and getting awards. What we are going to do going forward in terms of signings, we already have a scouting policy. One, we are going to put a lot of emphasis on local talent. We want to go back to getting players direct from our schools into the team. That will be our first priority. I do not want a situation where Leopards is focusing on buying foreign players. That is not going to take us very far. We must invest in scouting local young talent that is going to be affordable, and we nurture them through our legends and our youth team into the senior team, so that we have a consistent supply of talented players. What we used to do back in the 80s, what we used to do back in the 70s, that is what is going to revive us, not buying foreign players. And I can guarantee you that by the time we consider buying a foreign player, 1, we must be playing continental football. 2, that player that we want to buy from outside the country must have the qualities of a continental player. They must be playing for their national team. If you are not playing for your national team, you are not good enough to come from another country and play for Leopards. That is my view of the scouting policy that we are going to put in place. We do not want to put money into buying players who have no record of delivering any trophies, of winning for their teams, of winning for their countries. They have no business coming into Leopards. So we are going to invest in the local players from school into the team. Talking about content, we have developed content previously. We have had shows previously on TV. We had Ingwe TV. We had Ingwe Pulse on Supersport. So we already have a history of what we need to do to have a quality production that can be put to the media houses. So we want to build from where we did back then. We already have streaming of our matches on our Facebook page, which we have done in the last season. We want to improve on that. We want to invest more, have better production, so that that content can be attractive both to local and international viewers. That is going to take us forward. Currently, our matches on Facebook, when people are streaming, we have about 15 to 20,000 viewers. We want to bring that to more than 100,000 viewers. that is going to help us to start generating revenues online.
Like, as we wind up, these elections, which are coming up on 26th of June,
yes, sir.
Will there be a solution to AFC Leopards, maybe bouncing back to the glory days?
This election is going to be a game changer for Leopards because we are going to change the office from a political-driven office to a management and business-driven office. And I can guarantee you, next season, Ingwe will be back because we are going to fight for trophies. We have a very good team, and I can assure our members and the general public that we have very good players right now in the team, most of whom we have gotten from the youth team. Those players have the ability to win the league. The difference between Tusker and Leopards at the end of the season was less than 15 points. So we should be able to win the league with the kind of players that we have today. We have a very good coach whom we must maintain with his technical bench. So with that in place, our job and my job as the new chairman is to ensure that we give them the support, we give them the motivation, we ensure that they have a very good working environment, and they are going to deliver us the two things that Leopards fans always look up to: winning the league and beating the other team in green. Those are the two things we're looking forward for next season.
Is there a way that we are going to avoid political calls, courtesy calls, they call them courtesy calls, so that we can not see these things happening, going to politicians with the ball begging all the time? We need some money, we need some 2 million for player salary. Are you going to end this if you're given opportunity to serve?
I'm going to get the opportunity to serve, and I'm going to end that. We are not going to stop well-wishers from contributing to the club. We will encourage well-wishers to contribute. However, we are not going to drive the club as a political tool to go around begging from politicians. That must stop. And that is why we want to move from a politician running the club to a business-minded person running the club. And that's what we are going to do on the 26th. We must move the club away from a political tool to a football business. And I'm going to deliver that on the 26th.
All right, you wanted to face that camera, number 3, and tell the FC Leopards people watching you, fans are watching from there.
Yes.
Your final words, tell them what you're going to do for them as we wind up.
FC Leopards fans, FC Leopards members, we have an opportunity on the 26th, and we are going to make a decision to change this club once and for all. We want to move this club from a begging ball club to a very well managed business of football. And I'm asking you to join us on the 26th, because our target is to move the club from what we are seeing to currently trying to struggle in the FKF Premier League. We want to go back to winning championships at the continental level by transforming the leadership that we have seen dwindling over the last 3 years. And my urge to you, all those who have their vote, the 1,264 of you, make that correct decision on the 24th. Vote for Namai for chairman. We are going to move this club forward once and for all. No longer a political shop for people to use to make their political statement and move into national politics. This is Ingwe, and we are going to take it forward from now henceforth. Thank you very much.
Say Ingwe Ola.
Right. Ingweola, Yamatere. We have to blow back our enemies.
Thank you so much, Ronald Nyamai, for showing up for this Monday Sports Show. We talk about sports here. This is where we square it all, and all the time we just speak it as it is. There's no hiding.
Thank you so much.
I hope you guys are going to change things, as you say. My name is Jeff Mogura. Thank you so much for watching Monday Sports Chat. It's been a great Monday, and have a beautiful one as you continue the rest of your day.